Thank you, everyone. We're going to get started today. We have a packed agenda. Just give me one quick second. And before we start, I'm going to just pull up my information. All right, Eugin, next slide, please. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to start off with our event guidelines. First, the video. This event will be recorded. You will not appear in the video. This is mute courtesy, so your audio will be muted during the event. If you have questions, submit your questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Very important. If you do want closed captioning, it is available. To turn it on, click on the live transcription icon at the bottom of your screen and select your preference. All right, on that note, we're going to get started. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to start off with quick introductions, and then I'll go over our topics. My name is Rajib Ahmed. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Meetup. I run the technology team, the product team, design, and data team. I'm very excited to share some of our updates today. I have a quick reminder, today's session is geared around our platform, the tech we use, and some of the key areas of focus. It is not necessarily all the product updates that we cover in a different session that we'll be doing in an upcoming Meetup live session. So let's start with introductions. Today with me, I have Eujin, who's the Director of Data, and Ronlee, who's the Director of Design and Research. I'm very excited for both of them to join us. So we'll do a quick round of introductions. So Eujin, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Meetup, and the last Meetup event that you went to.
Thanks, Rajib. Hi, everyone. Nice to be invited to speak on today's Meetup Live. I'm Eujin Measson. Rajib mentioned I oversee Meetup's data team. Our data team here encompasses data science, machine learning, data engineering, and business intelligence. One of our primary focus is to deliver models that match guests and members to events and groups. I've been working at Meetup for about 2.5 years, and the last Meetup event I attended was a mini Toastmasters. I love that Meetup can be utilized for both hobbies and career development. I'll pass it off to Ronlee.
Thanks, Eugene. Hi, everybody. I'm Ronlee. I lead product design and research here at Meetup. What that means is that we are responsible for the way you interact with the product, the experiences you go through, and what that looks like. A recent meetup I went to is there is a mom's meetup in my neighborhood for parents that have children kind of born in the same season.
Great. Thank you, Ronlee, and thank you, Eugin. A little bit extra, my last Meetup event that I went into actually is a soccer event. I play that weekly in Jersey City, where I reside. And it's a Meetup event that I go to weekly and have just built great friendship there with many of the folks. So, all right, let's move on to our main topics. Today, we'll be sharing what's happening on our technology platform, data science, and digital accessibility. So on the next slide, thank you, Eugin. Here she went there. Here is a look at our platform. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tech that runs our platform. Our web platform is built on multiple software applications. Today, we have 90% of our traffic that's driven through our web experiences that are written in coding languages that are React and Next.js. That's on the website. Ultimately, we modernize this area of our platform to deliver a better user experience. It's more performant, and we want to make sure we always continue to optimize for SEO, which I'll explain in future slides. Our APIs use GraphQL, TypeScript, and Java. Our databases are MySQL and DynamoDB. Our older platform was monolithic, and it had a lot of performance issues, which is one of the reasons we've shifted our architecture. From our apps perspective, we have our iOS and Android apps. That is our member app, which we call our Meetup app. And we also have our organizer app that are meant for tools for our organizers. These are built on Kotlin multi-platform. This allows us to share centralized code, a modern architecture, but a key focus on stability, performance, and faster startup times on apps is what we really focused on to deliver great experiences. On the data science side, we have 7 key data science models that allow for recommendations, personalizations, and trending updates that we surface to our members. This, along with search, drives about 40% of all of our event RSVPs at various touch points. So lastly, I'll share a high-level overview of what our infrastructure and hosting looks like before we talk about things we've launched and what we're launching soon. Next slide. All right, the next slide the next two slides are really going to be a lot more technical. So I'm going to geek out a little bit. So if you're not technical, I'll try to keep it high level, but I know we get a lot of tech people on the call and wanted to share a bit more what's under the hood. So one is Meetup is on a cloud infrastructure. We're currently hosted on AWS, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, and we use Fastly. So AWS, this is primarily where our majority of our hosting is done. That means our websites, our API services, our notification systems, our data science models, anything that really shows on our client platforms are what is hosted on AWS. Some of the technologies we use, just to name a few brief ones, is ECS, Redis, Elasticsearch, Redshift, to name a few. Google Cloud Platform is where we use a lot of our data science for leveraging BigQuery. We do a lot of data initiatives there, and areas that influence our organizer dashboards is run off of GCP. Fastly is what we use as our caching layer, our routing layer, and our acceleration product. And they all work hand in hand with AWS and GCP. And the last part here is Datadog. We leverage this for monitoring our websites, our platforms, our API, and allows a lot of the toolings we need in order to make sure that our platform is up and running, available, and has high uptime. On the next slide, I'll share what we call a marketecture diagram, which is a combination of marketing and architecture to illustrate what, at a very high level, our systems look like without all the tech jargon. Thank you, Eugin. So on this slide, I'm not going to jump super into details, but on the left side, you have the tablet, the desktop, and the devices that are coming into our platform. We use Fastly to route where they should go. We have 5 different web applications. We have one for our main blog, where we share organizer and member content. That includes how-tos, best practices, trending groups, and a lot of quality written content that we have there. We have Pro Web, which is for our Pro website. All the Pro tools exist here, along with the dashboards. We have Mup Web and Classic Web and Web Next, which is really where we have our events, our group home areas. We call them group home. It's really group landing pages. It's a group experiences. It's where the chat, the direct messaging, and all those areas are. And Web Next, I would just want to mention, is our latest modern platform where majority of our traffic is being delivered from. I'm going to talk about 3 other areas really quick, and I won't spend much time here. Our API layer, we have 3 types of APIs. We have something that's we call in the edge, which is publicly available. That's written in GraphQL and TypeScript. We have our internal GraphQL, which is written in Java, and some parts of it written in Scala, as well as our REST API that we have that's written in Java and Scala. So these are the 3 different core APIs that we have. Underneath it, we have a shared area for our business logic, which we call the application layer. And at the very right, you have our data layer, which is our databases. This is what I mentioned earlier, is our MySQL and our DynamoDB databases. That's a very, very high level overview of the different parts that touch our system and the underlying tech in a way that I can illustrate without going into the weeds so much. All right, so that takes care of our platform. On the next slide, I'm going to share some key insights that we delivered on over the past, I guess, 2.5 months. This Q1 and Q2, and now into Q3 of this year. We had over 4,000 deployments this year. That includes over 1,400 bugs that's across web, Android, iOS, search, notifications, and our internal systems. I will say these bugs include new features that we're releasing and bugs that we identify before they go out to the market for us to address. These bugs include feedback we get from our members and comes to our customer service team because we know that we can always improve, and sometimes we don't catch all our bugs. And so we want to make sure that we address them to deliver the best experience. We've also decreased our API errors that we were getting a lot of 500 error codes by 54%. This really results in more supported reducing any outages that we would get due to API errors. The next part about it is our app ratings. We continue to focus on really having high app ratings. Our average app rating across all our apps is 4.62, and this is something we want to get even higher. This requires dedicated focus, listening to all the feedback, listening to the ratings, comments of what are not good and continuing to improve them. And lastly, we're ensuring that we drive better recommendations and personalization. We process about 45 terabytes of data that allow us to learn how to best apply that. And some of the recent wins that we've seen is a total of 9,000 more group joins incrementally versus last year with the iterative things that we've been doing here. So just wanted to highlight some of these things. Next slide, please. All right, so that takes me to a few of our launches that we've done. So I'll be sharing a few of them and then a sneak peek about what we're about to launch next as well. All right, so this is something that I'm really excited about. We launched app clips on iOS, and we're expanding this on Android as well. What this allows us to do is when people are sharing events through SMS, or we have mobile web traffic that's coming, we're navigating them to get more downloads into our apps and giving them the most exposure that we can. We've seen that this is driving incrementally about 14,000 downloads per month. And this has allowed our monthly increases to go by 27% just on iOS. And we're looking into how to expand this into Android. So really great win that that really just helps more people get into our mobile apps. All right, next slide. One of the next two slides I'm going to talk about is some of the changes that we're doing for SEO. For those that are not aware of what SEO is search engine optimization. And basically we have crawlers such as Google, Yahoo, Bing, and multiple other ones where they need to understand our content. So when someone is searching on a search engine, they find the right areas for them to go to. So basically, if someone is searching for a hiking event on Google and they live in New York, we want them to come back to Meetup because we have hundreds, if not thousands, of hiking groups, and that gives them the visibility to be able to meet people and build on that local community on our platform. So what we've done is, one of the changes that we've done is we've changed our homepage with the redesign. The key focus here was SEO focuses on mobile web. We wanted to share the breadth of our content in a more digestible way. This allows not just discovery by the crawlers, but for people landing to be able to discover the different surfaces that we have. We found big opportunities in the user experience and especially in mobile web that we have addressed, and we're already seeing huge number of large impressions from crawlers, which will ultimately result in higher number of registrations and ultimately mean that we have more members using our site that can go to organizer events. So really, really excited about this, and we're continuing to monitor the results as this is being rolled out further. Next slide. Here's another thing that we've done. We're actually creating more discovery pages for SEO. What does this mean? On the right, if you look at this, that's a new landing page that we created on our web platform for friendship. So as people are learning, as people want to make friends, we know that these are areas that a lot of folks use our own search for, but they're actually going to search engines and searching how to make friends in their local areas. So we have created discovery areas that can surface all the different type of groups that are available and be able to bring them back into Meetup and find groups here and events that they can join. We've done this across 20 plus areas. We're monitoring the results, but already we're seeing really, really positive signs. Next slide, please. So on our existing platform, we also know that maps can play a bigger influence. We know that on our native apps, we have the map, which is more discoverable. You can pinch in, pinch out, see different things that are available. And we've taken some different tests that we've actually launched that users are getting in order to see how they can use the map more. Today, we hope that by leveraging the map more, it allows for the filters to be used more dynamically. It gives some SEO boosts on more discoverable areas as users are using this. But at the end of the day, helps our members that are using the maps to be able to interact and ultimately find events quicker. We are anticipating that this will result in a lot more RSVPs. So this is something that's currently out and we're getting different results and looking to see which one is the best one for mobile web as well as web. All right, next slide. One of the key releases that we've also done is sharing the feedback of all the events to our organizers. We've done this in a great and insightful way, which shows on the right side, you can see the scrolling image, is that we know what different ratings our customers give, the different type of feedback that they give. And in order to make the events the most successful, we know it's important to deliver this information in an organized way to our organizers. So we've launched this, we're sharing these reviews with our organizers, we're making sure that they share their feedback with us, we continue to improve this, but ultimately the goal of this is to deliver higher quality events that members and organizers can get the best experience out of. And this is the way we're delivering that insight to help make that happen. All right. And will be my last slide. We've launched a lot more things, but I wanted to highlight this one because along with discovery, we know that it's very important that people are looking at who's attending events while they use that information to really say that, wait, I want to go to an event. I want to see who else is going. I want to see if I can engage with that audience and if it's the right audience for me to join this event. The things on the right that you see on the screen are things that we started surfacing. How many people are attending? That's their first event. The balance of genders, how many members are within the same age demographic, similar hobbies and interests. So you get alignment and you feel more at ease when joining the events. We're already seeing that this gets very high engagement. Tons of people are looking to see who else will be there. It's something that you can tap on our apps, and we've seen a 16% increase on people looking at this. And people with shared intent that end up joining an RSVP has gone up more than 7%. So we're really excited about this. Again, continuing to learn, but these were some of the launches that we wanted to share that we just released over the last quarter. All right, Eugene, next slide. All right, so I'm only going to share a sneak peek at 3 of the things that we are looking to launch next. Very important that these 3 things are not all the things we're going to launch, but just a few of the things that we're going to launch. All right, I'm going to move a little bit faster because I know I took up a lot of time. The first one is going to be swiping. We want to expand our event discovery in a more fun and engaging way. So for all of our members on our apps, right now we're exploring the way to swipe for personalized events that we give to you. So there's events that we know that we think are good for our members, but we want them to give us signals and actually join the events that are actually good for them, right? So the swiping effect is if you don't like the event, you can swipe left. If you like the event, you swipe right. It saves the event for you and you can RSVP to any of those events in the future. But we use this as a way to improve our recommendations to our members so we can deliver the right events that they want to go to at the right time. I'm very excited about this. This is going to be releasing soon. We did release on Android. We're getting some learnings. So we're going to apply it in the next spaces. The next thing is something we're really excited about, which is leveraging AI. We know that ChatGPT has taken the industry by storm, and we're looking to also leverage that and other AI technologies to help in any of our flows that we have. One of the key flows that we know we want to integrate this with is improve our group creation process. You have to currently write a big group description. A lot of folks don't know what to write. So we're going to use AI technologies to be able to help do this quicker and faster, learn from that and expand on that. So this is very exciting of something that we're going to be releasing that's in development now. And this takes me to my last slide. The last one that I'm really excited to share is we're going to be introducing hybrid events along with in-person and online. This really means that we know there's a need where a lot of our organizers are creating events 2 times today because they want to have the online representation and the in-person representation. And this was a highly requested feature. So hybrid events over the next few weeks is going to be launched, iterated on. And so we're really, really excited about this because this was a highly requested feature that we can deliver on. All right, on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Eugin to talk about data science and machine learning models.
Thanks, Vijay. If you joined post the introductions, I'm Eujin, the Senior Director of Data at Meetup, and I'm going to share a quick update on our data science and machine learning models today. Meetup has accumulated a lot of data, 1.4 petabytes of data in our data lake. And as Rajib mentioned earlier, we process 45 terabytes of data daily. So with this abundance of data, we've built some machine learning models to be utilized for three main use cases. The first use case is search. Both guests and members can enter a keyword and location to find relevant events and groups. 1 in 5 new members will perform a search and will be 3 times more likely to RSVP to an event. The second use case is within other product pages and screens within the application. These are populated for you to discover an event or group and can be found on your homepage after you RSVP to an event or at the bottom of event and group pages and screens. The last use case is within email and push notifications. Our models are used to provide personalized recommendations. So if you receive a new group suggestion or suggested events in your email inbox, those are powered by our models. Within these three use cases, we have 7 internal models built. Each of the pills here are one of those 7 models. Some of the models are personalized to a member. Those are shown in the blue color, and some are generic in that it does not take into account individual preferences, but it ranks items based on predefined rules and weights we have set. We're very resourceful with our models. We will repurpose the same model in various use cases, and those are found within the red box. So in an example, we have a model called Popular Events Nearby. It recommends the best of meetup events and groups near to you, and it's applied to search when someone searches without a keyword but inputs a location. It's within our product on the homepage as a guest. You are shown popular events nearby. And then within our email notifications, when someone first registers and signs up for our platform, we provide a few local recommendations to help you get started. We have chosen in Q2 to update a couple of these models, and I'll share with you those updates next. So one of the models we updated in Q2 is called New Group Announcement. New Group Announcement is a personalized model that recommends a new and approved meetup group in a member's area that they might be interested in joining via an email and push notification. You may have received some of these if you subscribe to new meetup groups in your profile settings. On the bottom right corner is an example of that email. Our goal for Q2 was to modernize the code for this model and also decommission some legacy tech infrastructure. We completed both and increased our reliability of delivery on our new group announcement emails. And as an added bonus, we'll see 18,000 incremental lift on group joins for the year. Along with our new group announcement model, we made some enhancements to our member group, member event model. This model is a dual service model, as the name suggests. It powers personalized group recommendations and suggests its relevant upcoming events to members. For Q2, we improved recommendations with this model by including signals from a member's search history. We know that for 30% of our members, this did improve their recommendation. We also took this model to expand our email deliveries to provide relevant group suggestions to members. We're now announcing groups with less than 5 group joins to new and old members in hopes to support these communities. Overall, both these efforts have driven 102,000 group joins annually, and there are 1.8 million more emails sent to members each month. Now, moving into our third quarter, we have been working on various model updates, but one in particular that I'll showcase today is another update to the model I just spoke about. Our member group member event model under the hood is only able to process personalized recommendations for 20% of our members within 2 days. That percentage jumps up to 80% by 7 days. We know that for the first few days of our members' journey with Meetup, those are pivotal to getting a great recommendation in front of them. So we're planning on making sure that 100% of all new members receive personalized recommendations within 2 days, and 80% of all members get recommendations within 2 days as well. This will greatly impact our newly registered members that are actively trying to discover and search for Meetup events near to them. That's all I have for today's Meetup Live. I'll pass it off to Ronlee for an update on digital accessibility.
Thanks, Eugin. Hi, everybody. Just a reminder, I am Ronlee and I lead product design and user research here at Meetup. Today, I'd like to share with you some work we've been doing over the last few months to focus on accessibility. Great. So what is digital accessibility? For those of you that don't know, it means ensuring that there are no barriers that prevent anybody with a physical disability, a situational disability, or a socioeconomic restriction from being able to access our websites. This includes anyone that may have sight issues or even anybody that has very slow internet connections. So some common impairment issues include things like text contrast compliance, where maybe the color that the text is and the background color behind it don't have enough contrast, so certain visual impairments cannot read the content. Keyboard compliance, which means that your site can be navigated through a keyboard, oftentimes for people with physical disabilities. And then additionally, assistive tech compliance, which means voiceover for screen readers, often for people that have sight impairment. So why is this important? Next slide, please, Eugin. In the same way that buildings have requirements for people with disabilities to be able to enter and access them and use them, websites and digital services do as well. I'm going to play a quick video here demonstrating how somebody with a visual impairment uses a screen reader to navigate a website so that people have a better understanding of what we're working on.
A screen reader converts what's on a computer screen into information that can be displayed through synthetic speech or Braille output. And it does that by allowing you to use a computer instead of a mouse, a computer keyboard instead of a mouse. You can also use a Braille display as an input device.
End of navigation.
And what it does is it cleverly determines what's on the screen and presents you that information in a way that would allow for efficient navigation of these pages. So for example, I could just keep reading.
Banner 3 items. Visited, link, image, home.
Line by line, and we could be here all day. Or I could jump to the first heading on the page.
Heading level 2, search for heading level 2, you are here. Heading level 1, make videos accessible.
So as I'm moving down through the page, I can look for the category that interests me. And I'm just using commands built into the screen reader. A screen reader converts what's on a computer screen into.
So this is an effort we've actually been working on all year. It started with, at the end of last year, working with a third party who audited all of our Meetup platform and shared with us what the biggest issues were. We then took those issues and broke it out into themes and priority of how we can address them. And not only do we want to fix the issues, but we also want to implement the changes and the long-term solutions in order to be more compliant over time. We also added steps into our quality assurance process to check for accessibility issues, and will continue to be doing audits on an ongoing basis. Next slide, please. So we are updating our foundations. What does this mean? From the design side, this means updating our design system. You can think of a design system as Lego blocks. It's almost like a set of predefined, reusable modular pieces in which all the blocks fit together perfectly. It helps us to work faster and be more consistent across our user experience and interface. Another analogy, it's like a recipe that tells us the ingredients and how to mix them together to continue to achieve consistent results. So something you see in one experience is very similar to what you see in another one. So you're not relearning new behaviors on Meetup. Next slide, please. So what you might see as a user is the color of the button on the left is the older color. It's a little more orangey, and we shifted it to the slightly more pinkish reddish color on the right. What we did on the backside is we worked with an agency that specializes in accessibility updates to design systems, and they helped us to create the right solutions and protocols for continued accessibility compliance. Our goal was to keep Meetup, the essence of Meetup, the same. This is not us trying to do a rebrand, but we did want to make the right adjustments. So, for example, take this button. On your end, you see the color change, but I want to break down a little bit more what goes into all of that change, aside from just the thing that the end user sees. Next slide, please, Eugene. So color and contrast. We've updated all of our colors and all the variations of those colors to pass contrast, as well as whether you can pair it with black or white text. Additionally, which colors and what pairings get used in dark mode. This was actually our biggest compliance issue that we faced on the design side, and we worked really hard to make these adjustments without changing them too much. And then in what combinations they can also be used. Next slide, please. Focus state. So we explicitly made sure that each component has the defined focus state. This is the way something looks when it is selected, when somebody navigates through the site through a keyboard. So as you saw in the video, the person was using a keyboard to go through the site. When you go through that, you want to make sure that you can visually see what you're selecting. And so we did that here and you see 3 instances, because we also have to make sure that the solution we're using works on all of the different background colors that it might be on. Next slide, please. And then we have keyboard accessibility. So we just talked about the way something looks when you interact with it, but we also need to define how it acts when somebody navigates with their keyboard. On the left is a simpler solution, and then on the right is a little bit more complex. On the right, there's multiple actions and language that somebody with a screen reader would need to know. So with a standard button, if you tab over to it, all you have to do is click enter or space and it selects it. But what happens when you go into something like a menu? What you have to do is we have to figure out, at what point do they open it? How do they go down into all of the different options? How do they select an option, or how do they escape or close from that menu? And then lastly, just a little sneak peek for everybody on the next slide. As we're doing this, we're also taking the opportunity to modernize some of our experiences. So this is a sneak peek that's probably very exciting for everybody, of a new event create flow that we are working on and we have in development right now. The goal here was to break out the stages, make it clearer what's optional and what is required, also provide more tips and context along the way to create better events, and then also much clearer and more direct error states. We've heard a lot of that from our users, so be on the lookout for this soon. And then generally, just in closing, accessibility is really important to Meetup. Meetup is a place where anyone can find anything they're interested in, and our product experience should reflect that too. We're committed to doing audits and scans on a regular basis and continue to be an experience for anybody, regardless of any disabilities they may face. That's all from my end, and I'm going to pass it back to Rajib for some closing and Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Ronlee, and thank you, Eugin. I think you all did a great job. I mean, we talked about the backend systems of our platform, the infrastructure, what data science is doing, the importance of accessibility, and the changes that we're doing. And it all really just connected. So thank you both for all the hard work and details that you shared today. I do want to just say to the folks on the call, we recently launched a Discord community for Meetup organizers where you can find fellow organizers around the world. You can get advice from mentors. You can chat with other organizers with tons of years of experience in managing groups on Meetup. You also get to hear updates about feature releases that we share early there, as well as many of the surveys that help influence the organizer features that we're building. So if you're interested in joining, please scan this QR code and you can join our Discord community for Meetup. All right, we have about 9 minutes of Q&A time. So Eugin, let's stop the screen sharing and we'll jump into some of the Q&A, which I can help moderate. I'm pulling that up, folks. Again, please, if you're asking questions on chat, we won't see them. You have to put it in the Q&A section so that we can get to them. All right, 1 second, folks, just pulling up questions. Let's start with, all right, we had a question from Chris. What are some of your considerations that made you choose GraphQL over REST API? Great question. So the reason we actually moved away from our REST API is actually the coding language that it was in. So it wasn't necessarily just GraphQL versus REST, but it was actually the coding languages that influenced our decision. We had older languages in our REST API, which were in Scala, well, which meant that a lot of the folks that knew TypeScript, a lot of the newer engineers that wanted to join Meetup, we weren't able to address the market to be able to look for talent that can know these technologies. So we made a decision to say some of our more modern REST APIs we're keeping. Let's go to GraphQL that can be written in TypeScript, but also leverage Java technologies that we have a lot of internal expertise. So in short, the decision was more based on the technology programming language and not necessarily is REST better than GraphQL, because I know that's a hot debate in the tech industry. All right, next question. Why Kotlin multi-platform and not React Native? We actually tried both. It's a great question. We tried both and basically for developer happiness and what would really improve productivity, we looked at that equally. And I think Kotlin multi-platform were things that our engineering leader, Anis, helped champion. And it's something that was a great decision for Meetup. It's not to say React Native is better or worse than Kotlin multi-platform. I think for us, it ended up being the right decision. So I'm staying neutral with the type of technology, but for us, it was a good decision and something the team on the app side is very proud of. All right, next question. All right, do you have a full stack feature team or do you have a platform team? Eugin, Ronlee, I'm guessing you all want me to take that one. Yeah, so we have teams that we have both. We have a platform team that ultimately is responsible for our infrastructure, a lot of the rolling forward changes that we want to do. We have something that we call our architecture review board, which is for larger software changes that affect the architecture. It goes through that committee for approval. But we also have teams that are dedicated to features, whether they're for the member tools, organizer tools, our pro product. If we're looking at we have a new product that we've launched recently called Member Plus, which is very exciting. We have a team dedicated for those as well. So it's a combination of feature teams and platform teams, which we balance in order to deliver on all that. All right, next question. Okay, this is for Ronlee. It's saying, for accessibility, how long did the design system take? Interesting question. It's a good one.
That's a good question. So it's funny, like creating the design system itself is taking maybe 2 months. However, we've been working with this agency, I think, for 4 months, because what they wanted to do is also go through what all of the sort of errors we were making. We had to spend a lot of time investigating those, getting all of that information together, sort of qualifying it and grouping it to make sure that we were planning out the right edits and changes to the design system. So like the actual creation of it was like hit the ground running, but we had to do a lot of pre-work in order to get to that part.
Perfect. Thank you, Ronlee. I'm glad you took that question because I couldn't have answered that one. All right, Eugin, what are the databases that Meetup uses?
We use Redshift for our reporting database that we connect to Looker, which is our visualization tool. For all of our models, we have all of our data in S3. We have specific Airflow DAGs that create and process jobs. While Rajib did mention we use some GCP products, we do also use a lot of AWS products within the data team.
Thanks, Eugene. And from AWS, just adding on, we use RDS, but underneath the RDS, it's MySQL. We have some smaller Postgres, and that is all our database systems that we have today. Thanks, Eugene. All right, so next one is a tough question from Matt. So I'll read through it and then I'll answer the best I can. Again, we're down to 3 minutes, everyone. I'm just going in at the order questions came in. So if we don't get to it, I do apologize. Spam is out of control on Meetup accounts. Perhaps half the accounts are spam. I don't think half the accounts are spam, but I'll read the question, which makes it hard for organized events and leads to a poor user experience. When new Meetup accounts are launched from high spam countries, geographies, basically what is Meetup doing about this to gate those? So great question. We do have a trust and safety team, and we do use specific software that we work with third parties that give us control over different geographies, behavior that we know is inappropriate, which is attempting to take over accounts. If they are not validated accounts, they get flagged. And they go through workflow tools that we've set up in order to reduce spam from the most anyway. So there's two types of ways that I'm categorizing spam. One is false accounts and account takeover accounts. That's one where we have tooling and workflows to detect. And the second one is really about content quality, people putting messages or content onto our site that is inappropriate. Those also gets flagged, and there's a ton of rules behind the systems that are automated in order to be able to scan and test for these. That takes actions where we can ban the accounts, pause the accounts, or validate them and make sure that they are right. That goes through those tools. Really good question. We still are always focused on making sure we don't have spam and taking action to continuously improve on those things. But I think it was a great question. All right, I'm going to jump a little bit forward because I want to make sure we can answer some things quickly. Why did you decide to use KMM instead of React Native and Flutter? Again, we did try React Native and KMM. We didn't try Flutter, even though I'm a big fan, but KMM worked out really well from us from a app technology perspective. Was there any time the tech stack for iOS and Android was cross-platform like React Native? If yes, why is the tech stack now separate? No, actually, they were all separate before. So we made a decision for React Native versus multi-platform in order to have a cross-platform mechanism. Prior to that, it was all separate. Let's see. I know we're at the last minute. So I'm seeing if we have any more of the latest questions. All right, someone posted a lot of emojis and cheeseburgers. We'll take it. All right, and last question here is, this is from Mike Eugene. That's a lot of data processing. Is that really true? So why don't you tell us about what goes into that data processing, and because I think it's really asking about the terabytes. The large number of data processing.
Yeah, that is actually a true stat. That's how much we process per day. We actually take so many different signals and points of data to build our models. And so one specific member can be scored across 60 some chapters, 60 some groups and events. So there's a lot that goes into it. We could probably be a little bit leaner. But we're still also developing new features on top of the ones we have. So we try to make the most good usage of the data that we have.
Perfect. Thank you, Eugene. All right, everyone. I appreciate all the wonderful questions that you all asked. I know the engineering update sometimes gets very technical. We purposely made this one more technical, and I hoped for the non-technical people, you were all able to follow along. Thank you again, Eugene and Ronlee, for your participation, and we're going to be very excited in the future Meetup dates to share more. Thank you, everyone.